Hi everyone, Jason here, reminding you to like and subscribe to our channel for more supporter news. It really helps us out. And now, on with the show.
You gave them 3.
Nice. Just give them a little more than what they wanted.
All right, take us an intro.
Welcome to another episode of Hear the Noise. Ted Godwin here alongside Ryan Arrowwood. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing good. Glad to be back. Glad for another great preseason.
Oh, it's fantastic, right? This is the season, the fighting part of the season where you start looking forward and everything is possible.
It's all about news and information. And we're getting lots of that from not the thing we thought we were going to get it from.
Yeah, true enough. So we got a few things to run through today. We're going to run through some Canadian soccer news, big news happening out there. We're going to go through the PFC, and we'll even mention some lower level soccer here in Victoria with some talk about Victoria United in the Pacific Coast League. But we're going to start right now, though, with Canada. And the big news in the last few days, on Monday, that was February 27th, in case people are keeping track, Nick Bontis resigns. The president of the Canadian Soccer Association fell on the sword. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that as an American living here in Canada, you may not be so familiar with this, but you have heard a little bit about this, right?
I've got a little bit of a different backstory coming from the United States. I got to see the debacle of the U.S. women's soccer team versus the U.S. Soccer Federation, which actually, funny enough, just resolved its actual court case. Yep. Like literally, I think the same month that this came out. So they resolved their court case. They got what they wanted. They're getting equal pay as the men. So I guess it was Canada Soccer's turn.
It was.
And I heard about the Canadian women's soccer team has gone on strike and then kind of forgot what happened. And then apparently I saw the news. They bombed out of the She Believes Cup. And I was a little confused because I was like, I thought they were on strike. Why did they even play? And then this happened, and I was like, I missed the boat on this one.
Oh, somehow. For sure, and that's interesting. So for a bit of background, for those of you who might not have heard, and for Ryan, the days before the Cup, they said they were going on strike.
That's what I saw.
Next thing you know, Nick Bontis, a management professor from some university back east, I'm not even bothering to look it up because the idea of business school professors running soccer associations just makes me want to vomit. You can tell I've got an editorial position on this.
Ted Godwin's remarks are his own and do not reflect the opinions and viewpoints of Hear the Noise or its subsidiaries, and... no. Wait, they do. Never mind. Carry on.
Said they were going to sue. They were going to actually sue the women if they didn't show up to work because they weren't in any kind of legal strike position. Which is, of course, a huge contrast to when the men did the exact same thing last year. When
they got a game canceled. They got a game canceled in BC and canceled our friendly here in Victoria.
Exactly. So there's shenanigans going on. In the end, they decided to play the Cup. But let's face it, I think that was resolved within like 24 hours of the first game at the She Believes Cup. So guess what? They were a little distracted. And it showed on the field. It was
pretty poor result for what I think is considered the number 2 or pretty high up, especially in CONCACAF. They're at least the number 2, I think. But I think in the world, they're still pretty well ranked as far as women's soccer goes.
That we have been, and
that probably didn't help the rating.
Let's hope they can shake this off moving forward. But in order to help solve that, Nick Bontis, the president, decided to resign. He fell on his sword. So the statement that came out, one of the things that was written, the quote from Nick Bontis was, "While I have been one of the biggest proponents of equalizing the competitive performance environment for our women's national team, I will unfortunately not be leading this organization when it happens. I acknowledge that this moment requires change." How does that sound to you?
I feel like there's another reason he resigned. That's what I'm pretty sure.
Right? Well, see, and here's the thing. So this statement was made while Bontus was in Guatemala. You know why he was in Guatemala?
Nope.
Because he was at a meeting of CONCACAF Council where he was being made a vice president of CONCACAF.
Oh, so he technically was just resigning so he could get a different job.
Yep. And the beautiful part is that they specifically said, the CONCACAF has said, doesn't matter if he's no longer the president of CSA, he's the vice president of CONCACAF. And I got to say, this makes me angry. I'm sorry I have to rant about it. This is why people hate FIFA. They hate CONCACAF. That's why when we got rid of the dude from Trinidad, Jack Warner, everything was supposed to be better. Victor, you were supposed to fix this. This looks like the worst kind of cronyism. The worst kind of corruption going. This guy knew he was going to be quitting from CSA. You knew he was incompetent, and you let him stay on the CONCACAF Council, and now guess what? He gets to fly to the Caribbean on a regular basis to attend these meetings. Who knows what kind of expenses? Does he get a paycheck? I mean, this is appalling.
Oh, it has to come with a paycheck. Everything in CONCACAF comes with a paycheck almost. Like, if you're in the governing body, you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
It's not a free-to-play game. Like, he's there to get paid. And I think it was his easy out. And who knows, I'm assuming he obviously knew for at least a little while this position he was being groomed for it or something. I'm pretty sure he's known for at least a little while this was going to come up. But it also leads to believe, why did he go through all this mess trying to get the women to play if he was going to leave anyway? Like, he could have just been whatever and leave the mess to somebody else. And instead, he was just like, oh, I'm going to make them play, and then I'm going to leave. And I was just like,
yeah,
it's pretty low ball, man. The guy is not going to win any favors in CONCACAF. If he keeps going up through the trajectory, it's going to be worse. But, I mean, CONCACAF's always been a mess. Like, they're full of corruption, just like FIFA has always been. And they have cleaned house a lot more recently. But this is a pretty low move on their part to hire this guy that just caused a massive ruckus in his own federation.
Yeah, I good riddance, but yeah, the fact that he's got this position just doesn't sit well with me, I think, or most fans.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can move on from this. Hopefully the women can put this behind them, though, and move into the World Cup. That's going to be exciting. They're looking forward to that. Hopefully they can do well. And it'll be interesting to see how they do against the Americans. The American women are looking not too bad this year, or I haven't paid attention.
Well, they're getting a little older, but that's not actually a bad thing. We've always had a very good soccer system. I mean, but the team, the golden generation that went through and just was sweeping stuff, is all kind of aging out. Like, they're at the very end of their careers for a lot of them. So we'll see some nice young stars, I think, is what's going to happen. And they've got them. It's just the old names that won them the World Cup this last time around. They're at the end of their playing career, so you may not see as much of them as we have in the past.
Yep. Okay, well, moving on from the world stage in Canada, coming local, back to Pacific Football Club in the Canadian Premier League. We got so much to talk about. There's so much going on. It's that, as you said, the exciting time of year. Let's start with the roster. I think one of the most interesting signings has been Kieran Basket, the former Halifax keeper, who's now coming in here. This young guy. It's been a hole in our roster for a while.
It's a last-minute signing too. So
yep.
That's last-minute-ish. The preseason is coming, but he's one of our last signings, and between him and the guy that we just got back, who was on loan.
Gazdop?
Gazdop.
Yeah.
Having him back, and he's been on loan playing in other leagues, so it's a new position. There is no guarantee number one, and I am excited because we basically might have lost our starting keeper, but we just signed another from another team. So what do you know?
Yeah.
Interesting league news when that happens.
And I got to say, I kind of like it when there's competition for a slot, and there's no necessarily...
There was no guaranteed starter at the beginning of the season. There was no, I was the starter last year. It's a new position for both of these players.
Yeah. And now his background at Halifax, I think he did okay.
I think he came in and became the starter, or he was starting at least at the end of the season. But that's also starting for Halifax for a little while. That I don't think they did well. Well, have they ever done well?
There's one season that did okay.
Okay, so was it that okay season or was it the not okay season?
I don't know. The C2C derby is going to be interesting this year. We'll see.
Either way, he was starting in a KMPL team, so he's going to be vying for that position here. There's no doubts. Yeah,
and this actually brings up an interesting point because I think you were mentioning before we started filming, this has really been a busy interleague transfer season. I mean, people are coming and going.
This guy is our second actual signing from Halifax, of all people. So we've signed 2 people from Halifax this year, but I think the reason why there's so much moving around is, one, we lost a team. FC Edmonton folded. Those players got to go somewhere. So that opens up roster positions all across the league where people are going to sign some people and may decide to keep what they have, go with somebody new. And we also gained a new team who's also looking to sign everyone they can. So there's just a lot of inter-league transfer, which is interesting for this league because that's not what this league should be known for. Like this league, the point of it is to move players along. And just as was mentioned when we talked to Jamie, or when Mike talked to Jamie the other week, it was all about you're supposed to be grooming players to let them go on to bigger and better things, which Pacific FC has that goal.
Yep.
And
we've done it.
This season, it's a little rougher just because there was so much talent, open talent floating around the league for various reasons that we saw a lot of interleague transfers.
Well, I think it's certainly exciting seeing Easton Ongaro join Pacific.
Not what I expected.
Right? It was kind of unexpected, but I think he's increased the average height of our forward line by about 6 inches.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Daniels is pretty tall. Thought Daniels was a tall guy. It brings up a good point that the forward position will have a lot of competition because Daniels was an up-and-coming last season.
Yeah.
I feel with a little more work, he would have been a great starter because he was aggressive in that role, and that was nice.
I always thought it was exciting. Whenever he came on the pitch, I expected things to happen.
Things happened one way or the other, whether they're good or the bad. He made things happen. Well, I think one of those times he ended up with a red card or something really bad. It was definitely not his game, and I may be misspoken, but he's things happen.
Yep.
And then we have Saloof also returning. I think he was with us last season. Didn't see as much out of him, but he was in the position for sure. And now we've got the new guy coming in. So we've got at least 3 decent guys, and there's another one that somebody told me, Beyonce, and I'm like, this guy's been on our team for a year. I've never seen him play, and maybe that was just I missed him. But that's 4 forwards already, and at least 3 of which are at starting caliber to start the season. So when it comes to having more depth in our roster, I think that's the one good thing about having this amount of inter-league transfers. This is the first season where I look at our charts and be like, all of these guys have played at this level before.
Yep.
We are starting with people that could start or be on the bench and be ready to take people's place if injuries happen. Unlike other seasons where we were buying to fill a roster.
Yeah.
Our roster last season when we were dealing with the CONCACAF stuff was stretched thin, it felt like, all season. And if we'd had the same roster we had this year, that year, I think it would have been a little different story because it feels like this roster has way more depth in it than we've had in the past.
And I got to say, what I'm looking forward to is the fact that despite having to change our keeper, we've got a pretty solid, experienced back line. And I think I think we're going to actually be able to build on that because I last year I thought it was our scoring that was lacking, right? Yeah. We just needed to score a few more goals and we could have been in. Like we would have been champs. I don't think our goals against was that bad.
Defense wins championships, man. They say it in every sport, and it is true in CPL as well. Better defense would have won us games. There's no doubts about that. And I think the best thing about looking at our roster so far is in every position we've got returnees this year, which doesn't always happen for us. This season we've got returning defensive. We've got returning midfielders. We've got a lot of midfielders returning. So, we've got people that have done this before in this league and played in this league. And that's what you want for, a good starting of a team is having people that have done this in this level before. And we've got them. We
do. And we're going to get to see them soon. As we're talking here, we've got a couple of preseason games coming up. March 7th is going to be against the UVic Vikes at Centennial Stadium at 7 p.m. And the Vancouver Whitecaps FC2, right?
That's FC2.
Reserve.
If we were playing the Whitecaps at a friendly in the middle of their season, that would be...
I don't think they'd go for that, yeah.
Probably not.
Well, they'd be embarrassed because they'd lose to us again. But
they would still send out their B team and then be like, hey.
Yeah. We have a perfect record against Vancouver Whitecaps. We should just say.
We're going to try to improve that record by playing.
Yeah, but right now, so we have the preseason. So that's at Starlight, May 17th at 7 p.m. Make sure you get out there and have a look. A couple of good opportunities to see who's there, what they're looking like.
Yeah, it was nice to see them release it as early as I think they could. Once they had the dates cemented, they started to kind of fly out. And that's good because people do wonder. I remember last season it was a little frantic when they first started saying, oh, there's a friendly tomorrow. And you're like, oh, well, guess I got to go. They gave us a little more leeway this time. And, yeah, I mean, it's a good bit of friendlies. We're playing 2 college teams. We're going to play Valor, and then we're going to play the Whitecaps too. So it's a pretty good preseason opponents. It's not bad.
Well, not bad for here,
No.
locally. I think if you look at somebody like, say, Forge, their preseason looks a little more exciting than ours.
I think they're in Costa Rica playing local teams. They're not.
Yeah.
They have a different level, and they play a different game than the rest of the league. The rest of the league, like Pacific, sometimes are trying to move people up and move them along. Forge has like 16 players on the roster that they've had for 3 years.
See, that's just a failure to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of nice to see the same players year after year, but as you say, you should be moving on from this league.
Of our roster right now, I think we have 2 or 3 people from our original team. I think we've got Hurd, Young. Team G might have been there most of the time. Maybe I'm wrong on him. But at least those 2 are the main 2 that have been there the whole time. And that's it. I can't think of another one.
Yep.
So that's a different team. We've moved people along. They've moved up, which is good. But then you've got Forge, who is, they just want to be top of this one league, and they don't care what the rest of the league does. And
But I wonder, being down in Costa Rica, being that attitude, do you think it's all about the CONCACAF, the Champions League they're looking for?
I think they're going to try to make a real push, but at the same point in time, what team has played in every CPL final so far? Hasn't it been Forge?
Yeah.
So even if they put all their eggs in that basket, somehow it still worked out because they tried it last year.
Yeah.
So I fully expect them to be around. I don't know how they're getting away with the things they're getting away with, but they seem to always have more in the tank as far as their training schedule, their ability to get games moved around for the sake of their own whatever. Yeah, they're on a different level than the rest of the field just because of this BS.
Right. Well, speaking of schedule changes, this is a question I had, and I think we know what the answer is going to be, but I thought it was interesting that our very first game against Vancouver, the new Vancouver team, Vancouver FC, was supposed to be Friday, April 14th. But somebody said, hey, it's hard to get people over. The Vancouver fans can't really travel on Friday. Why don't we move it to Saturday? So you know what? The club said, sure. Saturday, April 15th it is. That's now going to be the very first game between these 2 teams. Nice. I think that's reasonable. I like having our friends come over from Vancouver. They can come watch their team lose. Very nice. But what happens on the return leg, we still get to play on Friday, on June 2nd. On Friday night at 7 p.m. You couldn't move it over for us? You couldn't move it by a day? You couldn't go to Saturday? It just doesn't feel right to me.
I think for one, us moving it makes a couple of things. Business sense, weekend games, more people. Friday versus Saturday, you want a Saturday game. So if we got the option to move the game, we would have moved it anyway. I don't think their traveling fans is anything to even worry about, to tell you the truth. I do expect to see like 10, 20 of them at most, but it's not going to be. I think it's a brand new team. Unless they pulled fans from even Swangard the Swangard, which is the only other thing besides Whitecaps going on in Vancouver area. Even if they pulled all their members, I don't think there's going to be that many traveling.
You don't think there's going to be busloads of Vancouverites coming over for that game?
I don't think it's so. I don't think it's going to be that way. I mean, just think of when we played the Whitecaps. How many people showed up for that? That was the Whitecaps. That was MLS.
Yep.
Own supporter club, already cemented and in place. How many people showed up?
True. It wasn't overwhelming. That's for sure.
I got to meet the 3 of them, I think I saw. And the rest were just scattered throughout the stand. So as far as actual supporters, not many. There might be some more casual fans that show up for it, but I don't expect a huge turnout for this first rivalry match.
Yeah.
I could be proved very wrong, but I wouldn't bet on it. And I think my understanding is the reason they didn't want to move the game in Vancouver is because I believe there's a Whitecaps game that Saturday. and they're afraid of losing too many customers to their opening game.
Right.
Also, their stadium might not be ready, so they may have that to deal with.
Well, I think they're hoping the stadium is going to be ready by then. That's why they pushed their games. That's why, again, like us, they or not like us, but like some other teams, they front-loaded away games, right?
Yep.
Just because it's hard to play in their stadium when it's not ready. Mm-hmm. Whereas from those teams further back east, they don't want to play in the stadiums because there's still snow or really crappy weather, so they're coming out here. It's going to be interesting. We'll see what comes of it. I just got to say that, you know what? I think it's time to take on the Whitecaps directly. Even if there's a Whitecaps game, go for it.
Oh, they're far away from the Whitecaps, right? They're in a different area.
Yeah. They're Vancouver FC, but they live in Langley. So.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the same city name to me.
Exactly. So the one thing, though, I thought was kind of fun, we talked about the rivalry between Victoria and Vancouver, which, to be honest, is another one of those rivalries that is much more observed here on this side than that side. Yeah. I think you and I have talked about the rivalry between Canada and the United States. Canada has a huge rivalry with the United States, and the United States is like, oh, right, you guys play. How nice to see you. You know, it's not a big deal. I think that's kind of the same with Vancouver, Victoria. But they are trying to hype it up here. So Victoria Royals are teaming up with Pacific FC to create a Beat Vancouver theme. They got T-shirts, they got tickets. So the Royals game is coming up this Saturday night, and they're going to be doing a special ticket packages. Get your T-shirt, go out to support the Victoria Royals as they play Vancouver in the junior hockey, and then the idea is then they reciprocate having a promotion out with the PFC game when Vancouver comes across. Do you think this kind of promotion is going to work? This
is a step in a good direction for the sports culture in this area. There's only so many sports fans to go around in our market. It's a 100% known thing. So partnering with other teams is a great plan. And this one worked out really well. I think my only complaint about this entire thing was it wasn't released with a lot of leeway. I feel like it might have just come out this week, which means you had a week to get ready for it, or maybe it's a little longer. But this is something where if they do this every season, announcing this well ahead of time and saying there's a Royals game that we're inviting all Pacific players to go to would be great. It's a great cross promotion and something that any soccer team should be doing if they have another town like this. They're not pulling directly, but there's only so many local sports in town. It's Royals #1, the Harbor Cats something. I don't know what the Harbor Cats do, but they exist. And then there's the Shamrocks.
Yep.
I hear about them every now and again. And then obviously Pacific. So there's only so many sports markets, and the thing is none of us are directly competing against that.
Well, the Harbor Cats do tend to play a season that overlaps quite a bit with PFC, so that is kind of the most direct competition. But with the Royals, it's almost completely separate, right?
Exactly. But then there's never a reason to not have cross promotion as long as you're not immediately like on the same night.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to get us more known out there. I mean, there is nothing wrong with this. I hope it goes really well, just because, Royals are supposedly one of the best bringing people in. They have, I think, the biggest season ticket list, or actually that might be right. I don't know the actual numbers. They're pretty popular, and bringing in some of that crowd to soccer is a great plan. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's one of the better ideas I've seen out of the front office in a while to try and actually get our name out there, except for when they put our people on buses, which I still see those every now and again.
Yeah.
They haven't come off yet.
I know.
I still see it.
Yes. Just this afternoon, the champs are coming back, or whatever on the back.
Still got that advertising going.
Still there.
Getting the dollar's worth out of that one.
Right? Yeah. Makes
Gotta
sense.
like it.
Lots of money for that. And I guess the last big news that we got with the Pacific FC is the hydro pole. The big news, the hydro pole.
We knew it got paid for. There was questions when Stu Young didn't get reelected. Was it still going to go? And we have an answer.
We have an answer.
There is another pole on the other side of the street.
Yes, we have seen photographic evidence just today that shows the new pole up and lines being moved.
Which means sooner rather than later, we will have a beer garden back.
Yes. Actually, more accurately, the beer garden will move back to where it used to be, and we'll get the entire end zone.
They'll get more seats.
Yeah, we'll get more seats. So
more seats are good.
It's going to be fun. Looking forward to that.
The question will be is how fast or soon are they going to start putting up the other grandstand that they've talked about?
That, my guess is, from what I've heard, that certainly is not this year at all.
No.
And won't be happening until there's regular sellouts of what the seats they have. So,
well, see, that's the question, because they were thinking about, with World Cup coming up and some other stuff, they want the venue to be bigger, even if I think Pacific is the main tenant.
Yep.
But they've got other things and other reasons to have more of the seats.
And not to go back to the CSA and give them any credit, or at least to place trust in them, but when that game was canceled for us, how many years ago now?
2?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
They did say that they were going to try to get us a replacement. So there could indeed be some a game coming up here.
I feel like with games being World Cup being played out of Seattle, I think Seattle is one of the, no, Vancouver.
Vancouver. Oh well, in 2026, yeah, Vancouver, Seattle, 2 venues.
So that's coming up eventually.
Yeah.
It would be in everyone's best interest to have a nice. I think at that point that would bring us close to 10K if we get that full stand up.
Yeah.
Or at least that's a good size for a friendly pre-World Cup game.
I think so.
It would be for a friendly for. I mean, probably won't be the greatest of countries. I don't think we're going to see a Canada game there, but there's other people from around the world that would be fine and happy to play somewhere. I mean,
true.
And it's a decent option for people to stay in the area and not have to go somewhere else to play other friendlies.
Yep.
So I'd be excited. That would be the time to get it, and that's the one chance that they have to.
So I think what we're saying is that at the earliest 2024, we might see more seats.
It would be good.
Right.
Yeah, it just comes down to their bottom lines and if it makes sense to do it yet.
Yeah.
I know that's been the dream, is to put that side up, and when soccer starts peaking around that time, it might be the time to do it.
And in terms of the league, I think the best thing for CanPL having the hydro pole moved is they will be able to raise the camera platforms.
Yes,
right.
You get a better view.
They
of
get
Starlight
a much better
finally.
view, so hopefully games at Starlight will look much better.
Yes.
On television. Not that we notice because we're always there, but
I watch a replay every now and again.
Yeah, exactly.
I see some replays and see where they're at.
Yep. And just one little note, kind of a bit of nostalgia for me. Back when I started getting into soccer, supporting as an adult, back in '94, I started watching the World Cup. I think I've talked about this before, but I then looked for local soccer, and what did I find in 1995? Pacific Coast Soccer League and Victoria United. So this is a league that's had a long history and has played mostly in British Columbia, but also has had teams from Washington State and even for a while Oregon played in the league, and have always played tournaments with the John F. Kennedy Cup tournaments. So the league now has
John F. Kennedy?
The only sports trophy named for the president with his approval and his family's approval. The John F. Kennedy Cup, and back in 1967, I believe it was, Victoria United went down to Los Angeles and beat the Mexicans, because at that point it was a North American tournament.
Wow.
It was a Pacific Coast kind of tournament, so BC, California, and Mexico.
Oh, all the way up and down.
Yeah, it was a great thing, and we actually managed to win it somehow. So it's shrunk a little bit now. Now it's basically just Washington State, Oregon, and British Columbia, and then whatever the host team is makes up the team of 4.
Yeah.
So it makes a nice little weekend tournament. But that's a long way of saying Victoria United is coming back with the Pacific Coast Soccer League. They're going to be playing again in 2023. They were playing last year and actually managed to make it into the Challenge Cup, which is the League Cup final. And we'll be looking forward to seeing a release for the schedule there. I just have a soft spot for these guys. Back in 1994 or 1995, I started watching this team, and I found that they had no website. So I just made up a fan website, and next thing you know,
is that GeoCities? Is that
exactly
a GeoCities? I had
a GeoCities site for these guys, and somebody saw it and said, "Hey, do you want to do our official site? Because we don't have one." So like, okay, so that was kind of fun, and I went to look today for the schedule, and I discovered they still don't have one. It's dropped off.
Coming soon.
There's a Facebook page, so look up for Victoria United on Facebook. You'll find more information there. And
It's exciting news. They also the League One schedule for the Highlanders is out. I think I need to get that schedule figured out.
So we have all the levels. It's great. I think
time to update all the calendars with all the dates.
Yeah, and see where the conflicts are, what we can do.
They've been pretty good about non-conflicting, so hopefully it'll be good.
Hopefully they're going to continue that trend. And I think there was even at least one day last year we got to do a double header, wasn't there?
Yeah, it worked out where you could go to one and then had time to make it to the other one. I think there was only one. There was one where it was like a 1 or 2 o'clock, and then it was a 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that worked out really good.
That was kind of fun. Just if you're really desperate to overfill with local soccer, you've got the opportunity.
It's a good way to do it.
Exactly. Well, Ryan, this has been pretty good. Anything else you want to chat about?
We hit all the high notes, man. Like I said, time for information and player signings and all the stuff.
Oh, exactly. Looking forward to it. So thanks for joining us. So thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time, and take care.
Signing off. See you later.
That was not smooth, but that's okay.
We haven't done one of these in a while.
I did better last week.
You did